Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The May 22nd, 2025 meeting of the Medford Planning Commission will now come to order. Kaylee, may we have roll call, please?
Here.
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 Here. Yes.
Thank you. We have quorum. Tonight's agenda is available on the city's website for those watching from home. The order of business this evening will consist of a consent calendar and written communications, minutes, public hearings, and reports. Item 20 is the consent calendar and written communications. Have the commissioners reviewed the consent calendar and written communication items? Are there any questions? If no, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt the consent calendar and written communications as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Kaylee, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yep. Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Item 30 is minutes. The minutes from the May 8th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting will be considered at the June 12th, 2025 meeting, so we'll skip that tonight. Item 40 is oral requests and communications from the audience. This is an opportunity for members of the audience to address the commission on matters that are not on tonight's agenda. If you wish to speak, please come forward to the podium, sign in, tell us your name and your concern. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Tonight's public hearing will be conducted as a quasi-judicial hearing. If you plan to testify, please listen carefully to the following prepared statement regarding the procedural rules that govern these hearings. The statement will be read by Mr. Alan Moreland, Deputy City Attorney.
I'm going to explain the rules that govern these hearings. Before the hearing begins, city staff will give a report. The report will list the criteria that govern the city's decision. After the staff report, the hearing will be open for other speakers. The applicant will speak first and may ask for rebuttal time. Following the applicant, any other interested person will be allowed to speak. Any testimony, argument, or evidence you give must relate to the criteria listed in the staff report or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or land use regulations that you believe apply to the decision. If you fail to raise an issue or do not give the commission sufficient information so that the commission and any party can respond, you will not be able to appeal that issue to the Land Use Board of Appeals. If you do not raise constitutional or other issues about any proposed condition with specificity so that the commission can respond to that issue, you will not be able to bring a court action for damages. Before the hearing is closed, anyone who needs more time to present evidence must ask for more time. If you ask, the hearing will be continued or the record will be kept open and you will have at least 7 days to present additional written evidence.
In order to proceed through this evening's agenda in a timely manner, except at the Commission's request, applicants giving testimony tonight will be given 10 minutes to present their application. Individuals who have comments about these applications will be given 3 or 5 minutes, 3 minutes or 5 minutes if representing a group or organization, and 5 minutes will be given to the applicant for rebuttal. Our first agenda item is item 50.1, ZC-25-087. A proposal to rezone 2 contiguous parcels totaling approximately 0.75 acres from SFR 00 to SFR 6. The parcels are located northwest of the intersection of Stewart Avenue and Lozier Lane. The applicant is Stella Estates, LLC. The agent is CSA Planning Limited, and the planner is Dustin Severs, except it's not.
We'll get to that.
Stefan Roenfeld stepping in. Does any commissioner have any conflict of interest or ex parte contact to disclose regarding this application? Does anyone in attendance wish to question the commission as to conflicts of interest or ex parte contacts? Okay, could we have a staff report, please, Stefan?
Good evening, Commissioner Stefan Renfeld, stepping in for Dustin. First out of 3 tonight that you have to deal with me. First up is the zone change for Stella Estates, file number 2587. As always, for zone changes and all other projects, we start with our legal requirements. They can be found in section 10.204. There's only 3 of them for zone changes. They are addressed in the staff report, and they're summarized here on the screen for you. Quick project summary. So we're located just north of Stewart Avenue, west of Lozier Lane, looking at 2 parcels, about 3/4 of an acre in size. Surrounding side, we got some county uses still to the north, residential uses, and then nothing to the south, still vacant. More residential uses that are in the county to the west, and then the east is the part that is in the city, and we have a convenience store and gas station there. That was recently approved by SPAC. It wasn't too long ago. Here's a look, street view. There's 2 houses out there. A little aerial look on the top there. So it's pretty straightforward. The 2 subject properties have a urban residential club overlay, and when they were annexed, received the typical holding zone of SFR 00. So now what they want to do is just rezone those 2 parcels to SFR 6, which allows for 4 to 6 dwelling units per gross acre, which is shown here. And I'm sorry, Dustin prepared this presentation for me. I'm not sure what he wanted to show with this slide here. I think that just shows that the urban residential use or club map designation allows for the SFR 6 zoning designation. And he was quick on that one. So the commission can find that with regard to criterion 1, which has to do with the transportation system plan, there's adequate evidence in the record that the SFR 6 designation is allowed. The second criterion is the locational criterion. There is none for SFR 6. And then the third one is that all Category A facilities, that's water, sewer, stormwater, can be met with the conditions that are included in Exhibit A. And with that, we did recommend approval and to prepare the final order of approval for zone change 2587, and that's per the staff report dated May 15, including Exhibits A through P. Pretty straightforward.
Okay, thank you, Stefan. Does the commission have any questions of staff? Okay, seeing none,
Thank you.
we'll move on. The public hearing for this application is now open. Could we please hear from the applicant or their agents?
Good evening, Commissioners. For the record, Jay Harlan with CSA Planning with offices at 4497 Brown Ridge. It's a little infill zone change. We believe all the criteria are met. I really only have one thing to add from the staff report, which is not, final determination won't happen until we go to either adjust the lines or divide the lots further. But in our findings, we did point out that our research indicates there's 2 tax lots, but there's actually, lot legality wise, there's actually 4 total parcels. We're not asking the commission to make a final decision on that. That's just what we found. But I just wanted to point that out for the record, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions of the applicant's agent? Okay, you want to reserve rebuttal time just in case?
Yeah, hey, you never know.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. Are there persons in the audience that would like to speak regarding this application? If you wish to speak, please come forward to the podium, sign in legibly if you have not done so already, and then tell us your name and address and offer your testimony for consideration by the commission. Okay, seeing none. Staff, any additional comments? Okay, any additional comments for staff, council, anybody? Okay, applicants, agent, good, on rebuttal. Okay. Okay, the public hearing on this application is now closed. Is there a motion for consideration?
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt the findings as recommended by staff and direct staff to prepare the final order for approval for ZC 25087 per the staff report dated May 15, 2025, including Exhibits A through P.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, seeing none. Kaylee, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes?
Yes.
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 Yep.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Good luck with your project. Moving on to the next agenda item, 50.2 LDP-25-081, including also E25-082, consideration of a request for tentative plat approval for a two-lot partition on a single parcel totaling approximately 0.71 acres, together with an exception request to lot depth for parcel 2. The property is located east of Springbrook Road, approximately 125 feet south of Pheasant Lane. The parcel is within the SFR 4 zoning district. The applicant is Roger and Deborah Caswell. The agent is CSA Planning Limited, and our planner is Stefan Roenfeld. Does any commissioner have a conflict of interest or ex parte contact to disclose regarding this application? Does anyone in attendance wish to question the commission as to conflicts of interest or ex parte conflicts? Or contacts, excuse me. Okay, come on down if you have a want to question the commission regarding conflicts of interest or ex parte contact. Okay. May we have a staff report, please,
Of course.
Stefan?
Good evening again, Stefan Roenfeld with the Planning Department again. Next up, the Caswell partition, two-lot partition and exception. So for partitions, the legal criteria can be found in section 10.170 sub 4. That's also addressed in the staff report. And I skipped over the exception criteria, or it got deleted. Exception criteria can be found in 10.186 and has been addressed in the staff report as well. We are looking at a parcel almost, again, 3/4 of an acre in size, just south of Pheasant Lane in North Medford. The entire area is low-density residential surrounding the site, as you can see here in the aerial. This screenshot kind of looks from Springbrook Road into the driveway, and all the way to the back is where that partition is going to happen. So there's already an existing single family and an ADU out there. So disregard the first two houses, they are not part of this project. We are in the urban residential UR club map designation, which matches our zoning designation of SFR 4 for single family residential, 2.5 to 4 dwelling units per acre. And then we are looking at a two-lot partition with an exception to lot depth. Quick history, so the parcel we're looking at today was created by a partition in 1992. It was actually a 3-lot partition back then, so the two parcels that are to the right there, to the east, they were part of this partition, but they take access from the east, so they're not involved in this one. If you look at the proposal, you can see Parcel 1 will include the already existing flag lot or flag pole that goes out to Springbrook Road. And then there's an existing single family on Parcel 1, and then Parcel 2 will be further to the east. That includes a recently converted garage to an ADU. So it's an ADU now. So it will become a single family residence once it's on its own parcel, which will include some system development changes with the with the Public Works Department, and that's noted in their staff report. If we look at the development standards, you can see that for both parcels, most of them are met. There's 2 asterisks, 2 stars on there. We got 1 for lot area for parcel 1, which is slightly larger than what is allowed in the SFR 4 zoning district. For those issues, we do have a built-in language in section 10.702, which allows that parcels that already have a single-family residence with associated yards to be slightly larger than what is in the ordinance. So this falls within that criteria. There's no exception necessary to this part. And the second one is minimum lot depth is slightly below the required 90 feet at 76 feet. And this is why we needed the exception. So highlighted in red here is a proposed minimum access easement that will provide access to both of the parcels. It'll also serve as street frontage for the proposed parcel 2, which is all the way to the east. So with the street frontage being kind of going north and south, that creates the new front yard where we have to measure lot depth from. So we have to measure it, just that's what the definitions in the code says. We have to measure lot depth going east to west. Typically, if there was a street to the north, it would meet all the standards and we wouldn't need an exception, but just the way it's laid out. So we're at 76 feet, so slightly below the 90 feet. Lot width is not an issue in this case, so we don't, we agree with the exception findings that were provided, so staff doesn't have an issue with slightly minimizing the lot depth, I guess. So we have reviewed the applicant's findings and conclusion. They are included in Exhibit C, and we recommend the commission adopt those findings as presented, and we recommend as an action to adopt the findings as recommended by staff and direct staff to prepare the final order for both the partition and the exception to the lot depth per the staff report dated May 15 of this year, and that's including Exhibits A through H. And with that, if you have any questions.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Stefan. Yeah.
Yeah. So other than the lot size and the lot depth, which you've already spoken to, all the other qualifications have been met by the application?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions of staff?
Maybe should point out that all the setbacks that now apply with the new property lines, they have been met too. So.
Okay, great, thank you. The public hearing for this application is now open. May we hear from the applicant or the applicant's agent?
Good evening, Commissioners. Again, for the record, Jay Harlan with CSA Planning with offices at 4497 Brown Ridge here in Medford. I don't have a lot to add. Stefan did a good job going through the criteria and the proposal. I'll just speak to the exception briefly. It's just kind of a quirk of the way the minimum access works, the frontage requirements, and then the where the front yard is getting measured from. Like, so not, you know, the worst ones are like, other ones are like triangles where you're trying to figure out where the side yard is. It's just, this is kind of the thing that happens when you're doing little infill projects like this, or you have triangles or weird shapes. That's what the point of the exception criteria is for, is to deal with sometimes the oddities of the code being applied to, you know, a pre-existing situation where you're trying to do an infill project or something like that. So happy to answer any additional questions that the commission has.
Any questions of the applicant's agent? Okay, Mr. Harlan, just, I don't have my materials in front of me, so I apologize. The minimum access easement, does it only serve the two, or the proposed 2 lots to be created, or is that it?
It's on their property, and it can serve up to 3. I think the maybe the one property to the west is also presumably has an easement. I think there's probably easement on the tentative plat, so they would continue to be able to use that.
Okay, and this application doesn't require any improvements to the easement or changes to it, or it?
Oh, it wouldn't require changes to the easement. They're the beneficiary. They'll continue to have use and enjoyment of the easement area.
Right.
Some improvements to what's now a flag lot to the minimum access standard. The engineers will need to figure that out when they get to it.
Okay.
Between tentative and final.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Assume you want to reserve a little rebuttal time? You got it. Okay, are there persons in the audience that would like to speak regarding this application? If you wish to speak, please come forward to the podium, sign in legibly, if you've not done so already. And then tell us your name and address and offer your testimony for consideration by the commission.
Sorry. I'm so
I already
sorry.
did it.
I've never done this before. Can you hear me?
Yep.
My name's Lisa Williams. My address is 2856 Springbrook Road. I am the flag lot in front of what they want to do. My concerns were the water line, because right now both my water line and their water line go through my yard. And I've worked very hard on my yard. Sorry. Like I said, never done this before. Throughout living there, we helped take care of the dad that owned the property. He has passed away. The children now have it. They keep coming up to us and saying, well, we need more parking. You need to move your vehicles, and our vehicles are on our property. If they don't have enough vehicles for the ones that are living there now, or space for parking, where are the people in the back gonna park? That used to be a huge shop that they turned into a home. Our driveway looks, sorry, like poo because of all of the heavy equipment that they brought back there. My neighbor across the street walks with a cane and is afraid to come and visit me because of our driveway. I'm concerned about the felony person that lives there. They say he lives in Jacksonville, and he does not. He's been staying there, bringing vehicles there. I know that has nothing to do with this, I'm sorry. But I'm concerned about the parking, and where are those people gonna park if their driveway goes right next to where those people park? So my house is right in front of that, where the trees are. And if you go back, part of our lot line is in their driveway, almost by their garage. And they still don't have enough parking when they're all there. And I was told the water line is gonna go through the paved driveway. We can't drive on the grassy area, or else we will break our water lines. So while all of that is being done, what are we supposed to do? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Sure, you have a question?
Yeah. Ma'am?
Yes.
So I just, I want to try to make sure that I understand your concerns as best as I can. So
Okay.
What I understood you to say is that you've got a flag lot that's right next to the flag so you're concerned about access.
I'm concerned about access because I was told that they're putting the water line in through
Yeah.
the paved driveway to go back to the back house.
Yeah. So you're concerned that the construction work that needs to be done would impact your property.
Yes, it would.
Yeah. So you're not, I just want to so your flag, the flag that you use is not the same flag that they're going to use. Is that right?
We all use that same driveway.
Okay.
So everybody would be driving on our dirt part where the grass is right there. And our water lines run from Springbrook all the way through our front yard.
Okay, so that's something that you'd like the applicant to respond to is how they're going to do that, and if
Yes,
it's
sir.
Oh, okay. And then the other concern you had is if there would be a parking impact that would impact
Ample parking for everybody back there so they don't sit there and say.
That's another concern you have.
Correct, sir.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Williams? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other persons in the audience that wish to speak? Come on down and same thing, sign in, tell us your name and address, and offer your testimony for consideration.
I wish I could hear better back there, but I didn't. My name's John Kuklinski. I live at 2800 Springbrook Road. And I'm just curious, the way I understand this, they're trying to make this into 2 tax lots, is that correct?
Yes.
Does that mean they're going to construct another home back there? Or have they already converted the garage into another residence?
I'll let the applicant's agent speak to that, but my understanding from the staff report is that it currently is an ADU.
Pardon me?
My understanding from the staff report is that the additionally created lot has an ADU or an additional dwelling unit on it currently, but I think they'd be allowed to do lots of different things with it. So I'll let the applicant's agent speak if they want to their
So they're
plans.
making it into a second tax lot?
Second tax lot, that's correct.
Okay.
That's the
So we're going to
application.
have extra traffic back there?
Potentially, sure.
Okay. So what are we doing with the construction? Nothing? I mean, so you can have another driveway next to the house that's already there? How close from one house to the property line can you have a driveway?
I guess I'd have to let staff answer that question.
So there, it's not a new driveway. That, what's shown in the picture here will be paved. So it'll be improved, it'll be asphalt.
So the house that's been there for 50
However long,
years, and the property line, that's paved already now, right? To get back to that shop. There used to be a shop.
Uh-huh,
Okay. And that's already approved.
right.
Okay. All right, that's all I have for right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kuklinski. Any other members of the audience that would like to speak?
I do have one more question, if it's okay.
Okay, is that right?
It's just a question.
Or not? Okay. Why don't you come on down and ask your question if you need to?
So if they can split that lot now, it says that there can be more. Would they be able to split it again?
So I'll let staff respond to that later, but
Okay.
they've heard the question, and I think it depends on the standards of lots and stuff like that. There's
Okay.
probably a number of criteria that would need to be met. That's partially what we're looking at today for the creation of this lot, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, anybody else in the audience that wishes to speak? Okay, Mr. Harlan, you want to have some rebuttal time?
Thank you, Commissioners. So I had only sort of looked at the Google Earth kind of at an angle, and I hadn't driven down there. So if that picture is the current condition, to meet the minimum access standard, I was conferring with engineering, and I mean, it's going to have to all be rebuilt. And as far as the water line, when you do a land division like this, you're going to have to submit plans. Water Commission is going to take a look at where the line is, what the current size is, and they might have to put a whole new water line within the minimum access. They may be able to, if there's adequate easement and with the existing line and it's adequate in condition, then they may be able to just extend it. But that'll get figured out between tentative and final when the engineering for the project occurs. But the actual, what is currently a flag strip driveway will have to be upgraded to the city's minimum access standard, which is a much higher standard than a driveway standard for a house that's been there a long time. As to the other question, as far as could it be divided further, didn't really look at that. I guess my understanding is the house is a decent house as long as that existing main house is there and it's a viable house. Like, I can't see a like practically economic way, even if it might be legal to divide it further, as long as the house is still there, because it's just in the way of everything you would try to do to add an additional lot. I just don't really see it. So, and if that, also if the, even though the one property has the flag strip, if they have either an easement or a prescriptive right to use that, then it's essentially already serving 3 lots, and then that's the minimum for the minor minimum access, and then once you go major minimum access, that's not big enough to accommodate it. So a lot of problems I would see with doing further land division is the sort of the short answer.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Harlan?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. So Jay, the neighbor had a concern about the construction impact of the improvements that'll need to be done. And it sounds like her concerns are correct. The improvements are going to go down the existing driveway area, yes?
Yeah,
And because they have to.
they do.
But those will all be paid by the applicant?
Yeah, and unless they required a temporary construction easement, they're also going to have to be built on the applicant's property,
Oh, okay.
which it can be accommodated, but it's tight, which of course makes construction more expensive, but can be done.
Yeah.
Requires, sometimes you have to set the hydraulics down and get shovels out and things like that.
And the neighbor also expressed concerns about parking density. Now, you may or may not be able to speak to that, but if you can, could you just for their benefit?
Yeah, I mean, on parking, when parking is basically counted at the time the building permit comes in, right? So the lot meets the size standards, and dimensionally it's a 9,800 plus square foot lot, so it's actually any more on the big side for single family lots in Medford. But the actual spaces get, for single family, like different than some other types of development where you have to kind of figure out some of your site planning, sometimes even as part of the land division process. For single family, that gets done as part of the building permit review. The planner will look at the driveway and presumably a garage, and then need to conclude that it has the required parking spaces.
Are there documents that will control parking along the easement?
I don't think there's any parking on a minimum access.
No, there's no parking allowed on the
not
minimum
allowed.
access easement.
Yeah, and you can call code enforcement out, and they'll write tickets.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because it's necessary. It's necessary for emergency. That's to meet the emergency requirements. So it's
Thank you, Mr.
hard no.
Mr. Besco, you had some questions?
Yes, I was just going to mention that if I read the staff report correctly, Public Works is requesting a separate sewer to serve the new parcel. That's going to have to be extended from, and then I think with the water, I believe the Water Commission required a new meter.
Yeah, they'll definitely
Yeah.
require a meter. It depends where the Water Commission, where they
Right.
decide their public, all this,
Yeah.
but where the
And-
public meter, the public water line ends and the
Yeah.
private one begins. That's correct.
And you correctly mentioned that those will have to be built within the 20 feet that they own.
That's correct.
And so, like I said, that by the time they get done with all that, there'll be a new road there.
There will be a new
anyway,
road. That's right.
yeah.
Yep.
And
Good. Any other questions of Mr. Harlan? Just one for me. Again, I apologize, I don't have the materials in front of me. I thought I read that the structure on parcel 2 was a ADU, but is it not
Yeah,
currently?
it was permitted as an ADU, right? But and it met the requirements as an ADU, but there's really nothing that says that once it gets on its own part, the magic of an ADU, if you will, the planning regulatory magic is that you can add a small additional house to the main house, but that doesn't mean it's not a house. So once it's on its own lot, it becomes the primary house. In theory, you could add a new primary house and then it would go back to being an ADU, if that makes sense.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I'm not saying it really makes sense, but that's the way that it works.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Staff, any additional comments?
I think I just want to reiterate with the 2 new parcels, the 2 units that are on there, with the existing house to the west that also takes access off the same driveway, that maxes out the minimum access easement. So there is no more opportunity for any more units to be developed at this time, with this being a minimum access easement. There is a major, but that gets into wider, into different details, and then so unlikely to happen. And then with the ADU being converted, being now the primary residence on that easterly parcel, it will require 2 parking spaces, just like it's a typical single-family residence. When it was converted to an ADU, ADUs typically don't trigger any additional parking. So we'll require 2 spaces, and it might already be paved out there that they can use, I don't know, and then 2 spaces for the residence that has always been the primary residence. A total of 4 spaces will have to be provided at this point, and it was 2 before this.
Okay.
So there's going to be an increase.
Okay, any other questions of staff? Yes, Mr. Besco.
I was just going to say, Ms. Williams' piece of property actually has a separate, flag that goes out to the road. And if they built that driveway of their own driveway and not use the other one, then one of these parcels could be split again potentially. I'm not saying they're going to do that, but
Potentially.
yeah. So, I mean, by the grace of these people, the Williams are being allowed to use the existing driveway.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
So their flagpole provides for the necessary street frontage
Right.
requirements that we have, for their parcel.
So, Stefan, I wanted to make sure I was hearing everything correctly, but a couple concerns that were raised. One was, could additional lots be created back here? And I think that would require more study. But at a minimum, I think what you said earlier was this minimum access easement that's here and is going to be improved only allows 3 accesses from it.
3 units
Three-
to be
three-
served, yeah.
Okay, so at least in this configuration, they couldn't create more lots back there unless they created a larger access easement. Is that accurate to say that?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. You spoke to parking and said actually by parcel 2 becoming its own lot, it will require them to have additional parking. And I think Mr. Harlan testified that the minimum access easement does not allow for parking on it. So anybody that wanted to could call code enforcement and they would come and deal with anybody parking on there because it creates a fire hazard, among other things.
I think if we look at the comments from the fire department, they always spell out that there's no parking signs to be placed along the minimum access easement.
Okay. And then I think Mr. Harlan testified about the water line needing to be likely relocated into the minimum access easement when it's put in. But
That
anyway.
gets into engineering. I'm not going to comment on that one.
That's fine. Could anybody speak to, one issue that was raised was the construction component of it. I imagine maybe that's a code enforcement thing too, but a tight little area, construction things are big. So I assume their concern is keeping that equipment off of their property
Off
and
the yard,
on the
out of the
property
yard,
of the applicant, I guess, in this case. Could you just provide any direction if they have issues in that regard? Is that a code enforcement thing as well?
So I'm going to ask Mr. Harlan to communicate with Ms. Williams and create a contact there so that she's able to communicate directly with the applicant, make sure that the contractors communicate with the neighbors.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you, Stefan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think unless we got questions for engineering or staff or legal, we're going to close the public hearing. Do we have a motion for consideration?
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt the findings as recommended by staff and direct staff to prepare the final order for approval of LDP 25081 and E 25082 per the staff report dated May 15, 2025, including Exhibits A through H.
Thank you, Rachel. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, Kaylee, may we have roll call, please?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
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 Thank you, Kaylee. The motion passes. Moving on to agenda item 50.3, LDS-25-104, consideration of a request for a tentative plat approval for Stonegate Estates Phase 2D, a four-lot residential subdivision proposed for duplexes. The site consists of two parcels totaling approximately 2.29 acres and located at the northwest corner of Stanford Avenue and Coal Mine Road. The properties are zoned SFR 4 and are within the Stonegate Estates PUD. The applicant is Homes by Charles Mahar, LLC. The agent is Richard Stevens and Associates, Inc., and the planner is Stefan Roenfeld again. Does the commission, do any of the commissioners have a conflict of interest or ex parte contact to disclose regarding this application? Okay, does anyone in attendance wish to question the commission as to conflicts of interest or ex parte contacts? Okay, seeing none, Stefan, may we have a staff report,
Good
please?
evening one last time, and I just wanted a record now that Dustin officially owes me for doing his presentation. Last one today is a subdivision out in Stonegate, LDS 25-104, and my clicker doesn't work anymore. Legal requirements for subdivisions can be found in section 10.202 subsection 5, and they have been addressed in the staff report and are summarized here on the screen for you. You all should have received 2 new exhibits from neighbors. They were letters with some concerns in them. Dustin told me before he left that he addressed those concerns with the neighbors and they were satisfied with his responses. So we move on to the project summary. So we're looking at 2 parcels totaling approximately 2.25 acres. We're out in the southeast Bland Stonegate PUD. Those is about the last vacant area or vacant parcels in that area. Everything south of Coal Mine Road in that area is still in the county. We've got Stanford Avenue just to the east of the proposed subdivision. And we're surrounded by either low-density residential areas. That's the area that's already been developed by the developers. And then a winery that is still out in the county. A screenshot or a street view from the Stanford and Coal Mine Road intersection, kind of looking towards that vacant area that is now supposed to be developed. Larson Creek is kind of where you can see all the trees and shrubberies there in the back, and there is a bridge that goes over Larson Creek on Stanford Avenue. It's on the right side here. We are within the urban residential GLUB map designation one more time today, and we do have a zoning of SFR 4 for most of the area. The parcel that is just to the west doesn't have zoning yet, and they are also not part of the original PUD, is my understanding. But we'll get to that a little later. We are in the southeast plan, and that's kind of like an overview that out of our code on the right side. We're just at the very southern end of that, and proposed is a 4-lot subdivision, and then with some open area where the creek is to remain vacant of development, mostly. If this looks familiar to some of you, it's been in the making since 2000. That's when the original Stonegate PUD was first applied for, was approved in 2002, and that's the entire area there on the right side. It was amended a couple times. There were some preliminary phases were platted. In 2004, a CUP was approved that included the greenway to be constructed in the riparian area. We'll get back to that a little later too. Then there were some more development spec applications that were approved, and then in 2010, the area that you can kind of see here in white was removed from the PUD, from the Stonegate PUD. And with that, many of the remaining improvements to the greenway were pushed towards phase 2, which this application is part of now. Again, I'll get to that in a little later. The density that is allowed for those two parcels is between 2 and 6, so we're at 4, so that falls right in the middle. For lot standards, there's no issue there when it comes to lot width, corner lot width, or lot depth. And then the greenway, so I tried to overlay that here with a current area on the left side. So the highlighted in green is what is already constructed as part of the entire Stonegate PUD greenway system. Then again, we have this parcel that is not part at this time of Stonegate PUD. And then in red is the greenway extension that is proposed as part of this project. And like I said earlier, it's in the riparian area or the open space area, but that CUP from 2004 allows for that to happen. If we look at the comments that we received from the Parks Department, it points out that some of the items, like I said, when Phase 3 was terminated out of the Stonegate PUD, they fell onto Phase 2, which is Phase 2D. Some of the, let me move on forward, the items that are still missing are pretty major items. There's 2 bridges that are highlighted here with an arrow. The bridge to the very north was already, what's the word I'm missing? Bonded for, thank you, Kelly, with Public Works as part of a previous development, so there is some money in the system for that one. And then the bridge to the south, that's still outstanding and that will be tied to this project. The applicant is aware of that. In order to make any changes to how the greenway system works out there, that's gonna be a different process. It might be to modify the PD, might be to modify the southeast plan. So that's more of a heads up that this is tied to the final plat for this project, but it's not something we're trying to modify tonight here. So we did include a condition of approval, just reiterating that all the relevant conditions for the original PUD and for the CUP in 2004 still apply. And then we spelled it out in condition number 2 that landscaping and greenway features must be provided, or to provide insurance like bonding or letter of credit, and that's all prior to the issuance of final plat for this phase. Those are really the major issues, but again, they're not necessarily tied to the approval tonight if they wanted to modify those. So the subdivision itself is pretty straightforward. That's why we do recommend to bear final order for approval for this subdivision, and it's per the staff report dated May 15, and it's including exhibits A through B. And I hope that all made sense.
Thank you, Stefan. Does the commission have any questions of staff? Yes, Mr. Vesco.
Stefan, I was going to ask, so if I heard you right, with the development of this subdivision, they'll be building the southerly bridge that you told us about.
Yeah.
Okay, or providing. Okay, the northerly bridge, which is already bonded for, when is that going to happen?
I might defer to the applicant and
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And when they are built, are there connections for them to?
There's also a greenway connection that is still.
All right, so they're not building them to nowhere then?
No.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions, staff? Okay. With that, we'll open the public hearing. May we please hear from the applicant or the applicant's agent?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, for the record, my name is Clark Stevens with Richard Stevens and Associates. We're located at 244 South Grape Street here in Medford, Oregon. We're here tonight representing the applicants, Charles and Louis Mahar, in this project of Stonegate Phase 2D, which is the last subdivision phase for the whole PUD in its entirety. So, as staff has mentioned, this is initially approved as a PUD in 2000, and with numerous downturns and everything, slowing down the project, we're finally here at the tail end. Staff has did a thorough presentation, and their staff report has demonstrated that this subdivision is in compliance with section 10.202 of the ordinance. And We've reviewed the conditions of the approval, and we understand that this is the last phase and that all the paths and bridges that are still pending to be approved and built, designed, are now in order to be completed with this project. So with that, I will conclude and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Does the commission have any questions? Yes, Mr. Vesco.
Well, we're using my turns here. Thank you very much. I was going to ask, I was in the staff report, when I looked at the planting plan for the riparian area, it looked like they were just planting on the south side of the thread of the stream. And it looks like there's quite a bit of open area on the north side, which is all part of their property. And is there anything that's going to happen on the north side? Or?
That is staying natural. We're not touching that. So we're planting on the south side, in my opinion, which is more important because that's the southern exposure. You're going to get more shade on the creek. Also, that's where the path is going. Mm-hmm. So that's where our mitigation is also going to go, is on the south side of the creek. So there's a one plant per 64 square feet of area impacted that we got to replace back into the riparian area.
Okay.
So the north side will stay natural. We're not touching it, doing anything to it, and what we're going to replace will be on the south side as part of our mitigation.
Okay. And then I also noticed that there was a condition that that the stream had to convey, I think, the 25-year storm within the channel or something like that. Do you have that? Has that been determined whether it already does?
I do not believe that has yet.
Right.
We haven't done the engineering to that level at this point.
Yeah. You know, I hope it does.
It does, yeah, partially. Well, and maybe you remember that the whole siphon and redirection of the South Fork, because it didn't make that full connection back in 2000. So that was a major Fed state project to realign that and make that whole South stem connect to the Middle Fork. So that was quite a project in those days.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant's agent?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. So yeah, quarter of a century down the road, hard to believe, goes fast, doesn't it? But is the developer, the applicant, they going to be able to do the same types of things that they anticipated they were going to be? I mean, this all still works. It's all 25 years down the road. All the pieces are still going to fit.
Apparently, yes, and I think a lot of this is what we're proposing tonight are actually duplex lots. And thank you for stimulating a little bit of gray matter. That we're also, because we got the streets in there, both as major collectors, Stanford and Coal Mine, that we're providing additional parking on the back side of these, so we don't have some of these issues of who's, where are they parking in my yard or that. So these are oversized lots, and we're providing reciprocal cross-access easements for all of that. And for the 4 lots, we're going to have 8 dwelling units. So I think that's where you're making up for higher costs.
Okay. Any further questions of the applicant's agent? Okay. I assume you want to reserve rebuttal time just in case?
Yeah, just in case, you never know with this guy. Thank you.
You got it. Are there persons in the audience that would like to speak regarding this application? If you wish to speak, please come forward to the podium, sign in legibly if you have not done so already, and tell us your name, address, and offer your testimony for consideration by the commission. Okay, seeing none. Staff, any additional comments? No? Public Works, legal? Okay. Does the commission have any additional questions? Okay, does the applicant waive rebuttal? Okay. The public hearing on this application is now closed. Is there a motion for consideration?
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt the findings as recommended by staff and direct staff to prepare the final order for approval of LDS 25104 per the staff report dated May 15, 2025, including Exhibits A through V.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, seeing none. Kaylee, may we have a roll call, please? Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. You betcha.
Yes.
Thank you, Kaylee. Motion passes. Good luck with your project. That concludes tonight's public hearings. Moving on to item 60.1, presentations and reports. First one is Transportation Commission. That's me. We actually are meeting next week, so nothing to report there. Mr. Thomas, would you like to report on site plan and architectural commission?
Yes, so we had 2 items. One of them was Airport Chevrolet, which wanted to build an 8,600 square foot repair, car wash, and detail center. Everything was looked good, except for there was a couple LLCs that have unpaved gravel lots that Airport Chevrolet uses to park cars. That does not meet code. And so when it kind of was pointed out to them that the Public Works said that they would have to curb the extension that they were going to do, and that would probably not give them access to the unpaved areas, even though they said they were never going to use them again. For parking cars, they requested a continuance, so that will come back. The second one was just a 6,100 square foot some kind of office space, commercial office space, and that one was very smooth and easy and went with no issues. So that's what we did.
Great, thank you. Ms. Aiken, do you want to give us an update from the planning department?
All right, thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. I am Kelly Aiken with your Planning Department. Last week, I don't know, I was gone on vacation, so now I've lost all track of time. We sent an email to you, might have even been Monday, about OJEC training and to use something different than the OJEC training. So if you suffered through the OJEC training, I'm sorry, and now we have a different course that if you've already done it, don't worry. But we have an on-demand option now that is not from the state. So if you take that other alternative training, please just shoot us an email and let us know, and then you're off the hook. Let's see, study sessions. Next Monday is Memorial Day, so that's canceled. We do have business for both your June meetings, so that's June the 12th and the 26th. June 26th, New Spirit's coming back to you, just so you know. I know. City Council last night, there was no planning business at City Council last night, but they did assign us a task. So they asked staff to take a look at time, place, manner restrictions for marijuana again, and to consider 1,000-foot spacing between the businesses. So that may or may not be coming back to you. They're going to talk about it and decide whether or not they're going to direct staff to actually work on a code amendment. But just so you know, that happened at council last night. June 4th, the next council meeting, we have just a couple things on there. One is to initiate a vacation, which will be coming to you at your next meeting. It's in the Cedar Landing PUD, and it's 660 square feet. It seems like so much effort for so little benefit. But anyways, that, and then they're going to consider the Community Development Block Grant Consolidated Plan and also the Annual Action Plan. Kind of groovy. One of the things that we have to do every 5 years is come up with is to update the city's consolidated plan, which is the 5 years, action items and policies about how we're going to spend these federal dollars. And the focus this year in the consolidated plan is less on homeless service and more on homelessness prevention. So it's a little bit of a different focus. So we'll be seeing, I suspect, some dollars funneled a little bit differently through our next block grant cycle. So I think that's all that I have for you. I want to wish you a very safe and healthful Memorial Day. If you're traveling, please travel safely because you're out there with everybody else. So just be careful out there. And that's all that I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 70 is messages and papers from the chair. I don't have any other than thanks for putting up to me tonight and your help. Item 80, city attorney remarks.
No remarks.
Okay, thank you. Propositions and remarks from the commission. Seeing none, item 100, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Good job, sir.